10. The Portuguese Empire 1415 to 1999. The Portuguese Empire was the first of the European colonial empires. It also happens to be the longest-lived, spanning a total of 6 centuries. During the 1400s, developments in navigation, cartography, and maritime technology were taken advantage of by the Portuguese to explore the unknown waters in the south and west. They have several reasons to do so. As a predominantly Catholic kingdom, monarchs view spreading Christianity as a duty. Access to the Orient will allow them to participate in the spice trade. A sea route to the Orient will allow them to bypass the coastline constraints, being situated next to Spain in the east and due to the Treaty of Tordesillas, which created a duopoly between the two countries. After the Second World War, decolonization movement gained momentum. While Portugal resisted the decolonization process, the empire eventually finally ended with the handover of Macau to China in 1999. 9. Yuan Dynasty 1279 to 1368. The Yuan dynasty is the first dynasty in China led by a foreigner. Mongol Empire's Kublai Khan established this dynasty and became its first emperor until his death in 1227. This empire is known to be the first one to use paper currency. A series of natural disasters, the emergence of bubonic plague, and rebellions eventually ended this empire. The Red Turban Rebellion led the overthrowing of this empire, with the Red Turbans blaming the rule of the Yuan dynasty for the natural disasters they experienced. 8. Umayyad Caliphate. The Umayyad Caliphate is the first great Muslim-led dynasty. The Arabization program of this dynasty is credited for the spread of Islam and the Arabic language in a huge part of the world. 7. Abbasid Caliphate. The Abbasid Caliphate is the succeeding dynasty to the Umayyad Caliphate. The Abbasids overthrew the Umayyads in 750. The 3-century rule of this caliphate cultivated intellectual and cultural developments in the Middle East during the period known as the Golden Age of Islam. This caliphate remained in power until the Mongol invasion in 1258 put an end to its reign. 6. Second French Empire 1852 to 1870. The Second French Empire was ruled by Napoleon III. Increasing opposition to the government, the defeat of France in the Battle of Sedan during the Franco-Prussian War followed by an uprising in Paris all led to the abdication of Napoleon III and ultimately, the end of this empire. 5. Spanish Empire. Rival to the Portuguese Empire, the Spanish Empire in the late 15th to mid-20th century. It was the empire where the sun never sets because its territory was big enough that at least one part of it was in daylight at any point in time. This empire reigned over multiple territories in Europe, Oceania, Africa, the Americas, and the Philippines. 4. Qing Dynasty 1644 to 1912. The Qing dynasty was the last of China's imperial dynasties. The Qing society is characterized by a conservative shift, worsening punishment for homosexuals, heightening demand for purity among women, and an increased stigma over accepting widows as wives. Literature and stage plays deemed to be subversive were banned. 3. Russian Empire 1721 to 1917. The Russian Empire was established after Russia won against the Swedish and Polish empires in the Great Northern War. The February Revolution, which sparked from the strain on Russia due to the World War I, ended this empire. 2. Mongol Empire 1206 to 1638. While the second in the list, the Mongol Empire is the largest contiguous land empire in history. This empire was founded in 1206 by Genghis Khan. A series of invasions and conquest made this large empire possible. These conquests are some of the deadliest in history. However, these conquests also established the routes of trade as well as technology between the East and West. The Mongol Empire started disintegrating in 1368 and was eventually taken over by the Chinese Ming dynasty. 1. British Empire. The British Empire was catalyzed by the establishment of trading posts by the London-based trade business known as the East India Company. Just like the Spanish Empire, the sun never sets in this empire, occupying at least one territory in each of our modern continents, excluding Antarctica. World War II severely bankrupted the empire. This, as well as the growing unrest among its colonies, eventually led to the fall of the British Empire.